Now, to the question of whether or not Hasan Piker has any real influence, you need to understand that a lot of like left-wing publications, when they were trying to figure out how do we appeal toward men, they actually were lifting up Hasan Piker, right? You've seen everyone from people like Ezra Klein defend him, to Bernie Sanders, to AOC, to all these people be on stage and elevate and platform Hasan Piker because they thought, oh, this guy's a man's man, right? Right? He lifts weights occasionally. Right, he seems to talk about doing violent things. That's a man, right? Because the Democrats have this real problem. The left has this real problem with trying to identify what genuine masculinity is. Because one minute they want to say it's all toxic, but then when they realize that they're losing male voters, they try to come up with some sort of way to appeal to those male voters, and they always get it wrong. Like first it was Tim Walz, right? It's oh Tim Walz is a football coach. You guys will like him, right? Right now it's like James Tallarico in Texas. Oh, this guy's that's what it was. We needed someone that was more Christian. Well, James Tallarico went to seminary. Yeah, but he like regularly preaches things that are like openly heretical and ridiculous. They can never quite seem to get the formula right, and it's because they don't like genuine masculinity. And so when they see someone like Hasan Piker, they're like, oh, he works out occasionally, and he talks a lot about violence and fighting. That must be what men like. And so they started elevating this guy. And then the more stuff came out about what he actually believed and the things that he said, and constantly advocating for violence, to include against non-combatants, to include against innocent people, to include against people that just simply disagree with him politically. All of a sudden, like you would think that would be problematic for the left. But I guess we shouldn't be surprised that the same people, many of whom thought Charlie Kirk had it coming or laughed when Charlie Kirk got shot, would look at a guy like Hasan Piker and think, oh yeah, this is our guy. This is sort of the guy that we can fight alongside with. And so here we are. But Hasan made a little bit of a mistake. And the mistake that he made was, well, an interesting one because he was just so quick to brag about it. So FBI is investigating Hasan Piker, Medea Benjamin, over Cuba aid convoys. All right, so federal investigators have served subpoenas to left-wing influencers Hasan Piker and Co-Pink co-founder Medina Benjamin as part of a probe in their aid convoy trips to Cuba earlier this year, according to a new report. Piker, 34, and Benjamin, 73, are among more than 40 Americans under scrutiny by the Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control, which is investigating whether the March flotilla to Havana violated U.S. sanctions law by financing, coordinating, or delivering goods to Cuba. Now, what's important to understand about this is that this even makes it sound better than it actually was. It's this idea that, oh, they were going down there just to provide aid. Yeah, I don't know how much aid they actually provided. They did a whole lot of listening to, going to concerts and staying in 5-star luxury hotels owned by the Cuban military, which, by the way, controls 70% of the Cuban economy. They had air conditioning and electricity when most of the Cubans did not. So again, it's another case of one of these group of champagne socialists going down to Cuba, and they never stay. Right? They never stay to truly invest or to try to fix the system. No, they always come back to the United States. And maybe that's because that's what these people always do. Right? They never want to go and actually live in any of the communist utopias that they're constantly bragging about. To the extent that they even want to visit them, they visit them as guests of the totalitarian regime, which of course treats them like royalty, which you're not supposed to do in communist countries. But inevitably, that's always what happens. That's because communism doesn't create equality. Marxism doesn't create equality. It may advertise that, but it never creates it. It always creates, it usually takes a system which might have multiple, economic classes, and then it generally creates two. The impoverished and those connected to power. So everything that Marxists complain about with capitalism is actually made significantly worse under a political control of everything within society and the kind of totalitarian regimes that Marxist regimes inevitably end up having to be. Because the only way you can control the economy is by controlling people. That's why communists like Hasan Piker that are worth millions of dollars never want to live in the sort of countries where the government would control their income. No, they want to live in the sort of countries where they have a lot more control over their income. Go figure.